Hello everyone, this is Jackie Williams. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, I want to feature the Painted Trees Embossing folder. Now this folder is part of the Season of Elegance suite in the 2024 September through December mini catalog. And this suite includes some beautiful gold foiled papers, Painted Trees folder, ribbon, gems, and it's a mega suite because it includes 2 stamp sets and 2 sets of dies. So I'll be using some of these elements in the sample that I'm going to make with you, and also in the samples I'll share with you at the end of the video. Particularly these dies are quite useful for labels. Now for our sample today, I'm going to use the Painted Trees embossing folder and use a brayer to apply ink right to the folder. I'm going to use Versamark and a square of boho blue cardstock for this sample. So what we'll do is we'll open up the folder. Now your brayer has little legs on it. Those are for storage purposes so that the roller part is never sitting flat onto your shelf or drawer. But when we are inking it up, you'll want to have those little legs pointing upwards so they don't accidentally gouge or tear your ink pad. So I am just going to ink up my brayer with the Versamark and then apply that to the folder. Now this folder is quite a large surface, so the ink may not apply perfectly evenly, and that's okay because we're just going for a bit of an effect. And I am applying the ink on the side that has the black Stampin' Up! Label. Now then I'm going to center my piece in the folder, close that, and then we'll run that through the machine. Sorry, I see that is completely out of focus. And then when we open it up, we have, it's subtle, but the background is a little bit deeper than the trees. You can see it better in that light. It's just a nice subtle effect, but using tools that you likely already have, so it's a good one. Now I'm going to grab my grid paper, and now we'll use a little bit of the Whisper White ink, and I have a sponge dauber. And I have cut, just out of a scrap paper, the 2-inch circle using a punch, or of course you can use a die if you prefer. And I'm just going to add just that little bit of a moon feature, and then I'm just going to dab it to give it a little texture over top. Something like that. Ooh, that looks cool on the blue. And then with the ink that's still on here, I'm just going to add just a little bit of white over the trees. Not too much, just enough to just kind of bring out that very top layer a little bit more. And the white will actually lighten a little bit as it dries. So we have the recessed part a little bit darker with the Versamark. And then we have the normal cardstock color, and then the very top highlights, I've put a little bit of white on to give it quite a lot of visual texture. But we won't stop there. I would like to add a little shimmer spray. So what you need is a combination of isopropyl alcohol, and I'm using the Pearlized Enamel Effects, the white one. So I think I'll put the alcohol in first so the enamel effects don't blob in at the bottom. We'll give that a really good shake, and then we'll spritz that. And it will go dark until the alcohol dries, which doesn't take long. Isopropyl alcohol dries very quickly. So I'm going to set that aside while it's drying. And next I want to die cut out the word Christmas. Now I want my Christmas to be a little darker than the boho blue cardstock. We don't have a color that is kind of tone on tone with the boho blue. So there is a little hack for that. You can just take the ink pad and just darken up the boho blue cardstock. So you see that's the original and that's with the ink. And then when I cut this out, it's going to tone in very nicely with the boho blue, but just have that little bit of a contrast. Okay, we'll set this aside. Now one more thing on this piece. I want to take some of that white ink, and I have just put a little bit from the ink refill onto a block. Just added a little water to get it nice and runny, and then keeping it very close to the paper, I'm just tapping it against my finger just to add some white splatters. That looks nice. Okay, now optional, I'm going to take a Night of Navy marker and just add a few dark splatters in there, just a few, not so that you'd necessarily really notice them, but it just adds some nice contrast there. Now I think we're ready to start assembling. So I'm going to place this on a mat of Night of Navy. Boho Blue and Night of Navy go quite nicely together. And I'm using tape because the Boho Blue cardstock, because it's gotten wet a few times, is a little bit misshapen, so the tape will hold it down nicely. Next, I have one of the labels from the Peaceful Season stamp set, and I find it's easiest to put the label on with dimensionals and then put the ribbon on while this is still. I'm going to have it coming off the edge just a little, like that. And I want to use this beautiful glittered Night of Navy ribbon. I like that it is sheer and it has a little bit of gold in it. So I'll just cut off a little piece. So this ribbon on this side is really just for looks, just to bring the color and the little bit of sparkle through onto both sides. And then we'll do the same on the other side. This is a good little ribbon hack for using these dies, because if you're like me, you want your ribbon to go as far as possible. I was even a little too generous there. So there's really no reason to have your ribbon wrapped around the back. You just want to have as much of your ribbon on the front of your card as you can. And then I'll add a little bow. We'll see how well this ribbon ties. So this ribbon technique is actually 3 pieces. We have a piece here, a piece there, and then a third piece for the bow. And now I'll add our Christmas. I think I would like that even darker than it is. So I'm going to just add a little more ink to this. And I'm just going to add a little glue dot just to get my bow to sit where I want it to sit. Now we'll add that to our card base with dimensionals. And then we just need to add some embellishments. So I want to use the Druzy embellishments, and these ones are really quite beautiful. They are very, very sparkly. I've been telling the people in my classes that they look like shattered glass, because they do. They're really, really sparkly. So I love these. And there we go. Hopefully you can see all that detail here on the video. It's really quite nice, quite subtle and elegant. And here is another version that I made using, for this one, Fresh Freesia and Blackberry Bliss, along with some gold foil for the words. So 2 different looks. These ones are relatively quick to do once you've done the embossing and the cutting out of the words, or you could just stamp words here if you prefer. But let's share with you some other samples that I've made using the Painted Trees embossing folder. So this one I've gone a little darker using Pebbled Path and Gray Granite with just that pop of real red of a little bird right there in the tree. This could even, with some different words, make a nice sympathy card. And then my next sample, I've embossed the trees on silver foil and then just added some of our specialty papers. You could just choose your favorite color and then use another label and those Druzy embellishments again. And this one you may have seen, because I have blogged this one, using Cherry Cobbler and Gray Granite and Pebbled Path, which is a nice combination, with the gold Druzy embellishments this time as an accent, along with another one of those Peaceful Season labels. And then this card, I have used the embossing folder not as the main focal point, but as a textured background. And I've used the Merriest Trees dies to create a Coastal Cabana tree for something quite fresh and fun, and then paired it with, I think these are technically garden green and gold. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have a friend who would also enjoy this video, please feel free to share with them. I always appreciate that. Leave me a comment and of course subscribe. This is Jacque Williams, and I look forward to sharing it with you on the next video. Bye-bye.